Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. And today we're looking at an older product and one that I didn't expect to review because I initially had anticipated to review Extractor by Peter Nardi, but I found out that that is unavailable pretty much everywhere, so there's not much point in me reviewing it. But then I found that this is an effect I often carry with me for a quick little piece of magic, a one-off thing, and this is something that people have not really talked about or raved about, and I've not even seen many reviews of it. And that is Caught Red-Handed by Michael Mode and Arthur Ottney. This is a really fun little quick effect that uses kind of a really interesting premise of a marked deck and being caught out using a marked deck. It's really fun, and I think that a lot of people are maybe going to find a kick out of this and maybe even going to buy it. So enough said about that. Let's roll the intro and get straight into the review. Perfect. So you decide to stick around, which means you want to learn more about Caught Red-Handed. So what is Caught Red-Handed? Caught Red-Handed is a routine where, depending on the routine that you choose to perform, you're going to essentially show to the spectator how you can catch out someone that is using the marked deck, or for example, how you're explaining to them how to make sure that no one is using a marked deck and how to catch them out. So it depends on your routining style. But essentially, I'm going to give you a quick performance of the trick. So essentially you would remove from your casing a deck of cards and you could show it to your spectator and tell them, perfect, so if we were to play a game of poker with this deck, that would be fine, right? And then they're going to say yes, and you tell them, actually no, it would not be fine because this is not a normal deck, this is a marked deck, and you always have to be careful of that. Really, because every single card, I don't know if you can see, let me get closer here, is marked. So I can know, for example, that this is the 8 of clubs. I can know that, for example, this is the 8 of spades. For example, this one. If I were to ask you, what do you think this card is? Can you see the marking on it? Can you see the mark on it? You cannot? Well, let me try and make it easier for you. I can show you the mate of the card. For example, here, the Joker. And the reason this mark is you can see here in the corner, on the normal card, there's a border. But on the Joker, it's clear that the border is removed. So you can see how you can mark the cards just like that, and you can clearly see that it's the Joker. But let's say you don't. Let me make it easier for you to understand. You can actually see, if I mark it just like this with a wave, you can see how the card on the table, the Joker, is actually marked clearly for you. But that's not the only thing that can happen. You can take a look at that, but you can actually take and just wave the deck, and even though it looks normal from the front, on the back, every single card is now fully marked for you to be able to see clearly every single one. For example, this one, the 2 of clubs, and you can clearly see it's the 2 of clubs. For example, this one, the 3 of spades, and you can see that is the 3 of spades. Every single card clearly marked for you to be able to spot. Okay, so that was a quick performance of the easiest way you can perform Caught Red-Handed. Now, of course, because of the camera, because of the setup, the routine wasn't as fluid as it would be normally because, well, because of the camera and the way I perform it, because usually you need a spectator here to help you out. So because of that, it doesn't really play that well on camera, but hopefully it was still a enjoyable performance for you to get kind of an idea of how this effect would play out to a spectator. And I've also just reset it in the moment while talking to you, so now I'm pretty much good to go to the next table. So that's essentially Caught Red-Handed. So now that you know what this is, where do you buy this, how much does it cost, and what do you get? So this can be purchased from Penguin Magic. I do believe it's the only place that has it in stock. It costs $24.99, so less than $25, and what you get is this. So you get this small envelope. It's not like anything special. It's like really old packaging. So you get this small envelope. Inside of this, you also get your deck of cards and a link to the instructional video. So you get that little bag and your deck, which is of the Superior brand playing cards. So these are really nice playing cards. If you don't know these cards, these are the cards that I know some magicians use, especially I think Aussie Wind is a big fan of these, and I think all of his gimmicks and a lot of his shows use Superior brand playing cards. I think they're his favorite. They really are a nice deck of cards, and they're a bit more glossy and they're a bit more kind of not really plasticky, but they feel a bit more durable. So it's a really good and well-made deck of cards. And also the deck of cards doesn't use any special substances, any trick things that can break. It is literally just a deck that doesn't require much attention or anything like that. So it's a really nice made deck of cards. Then you also get the instructions, which I mentioned. There are 3 different routines. There's a super easy routine, there's an intermediate routine, and there's an advanced routine, depending on the sleight of hand prowess that you want to do with the effect and depending on the direction that you want to go. The one that I perform for you is the easiest routine on the project, because I feel even though it's the easiest, it has a pretty good effect. Of course, probably not for the camera, but I think that for real performances, it plays out pretty well. And you get that as well with different varying performances to suit your personality. So that's everything that you get for your 25 bucks. So having said that, let's get into difficulty. So how difficult is this to perform? So as I mentioned, this is varying in difficulty. It goes from ultra easy to a bit harder. Even the hardest routine is not super hard, so don't worry about that, but definitely something for every skill level. So you can literally just buy this, and then just by watching the tutorial, you'll be good to go. You do have to do a small thing to one of the cards in a one-time setup that takes maybe 5 minutes. But once you do that one-time setup, you're good to go forever. You don't have to redo that setup. That's easy as well. And difficulty-wise, really nothing knuckle busting. As you saw in my performance, hopefully it turned out well, but as you saw, nothing really too hard. Maybe like 2 moves, and that's pretty much it. Nothing really complicated. So very easy to do routine and very well explained as well in the tutorial. Now moving on to practicality. So how practical is this? Well, this is pretty much practical as long as you want to carry around this deck of cards. So this deck of cards is a one-trick pony. It can only achieve this effect and this effect only. So you cannot use this for other routines or anything like that. You can only use this for this specific effect, okay? So you do have to carry around a deck of cards. Regarding table space, you do not necessarily need a table for this. Depending on the routines that you do, you can do them without a table. You can do it in the hand of the spectator, as in the trailer for the product. He shows how he does this without necessarily the need of a table. But if you have a table, it's good, just to spread or place one card. You don't need a big space of a table, which is really, really good, which means that this is very practical for table hopping, street performances, casual performances. You don't need to rely on certain things. Regarding reset, as you saw, the reset is pretty quick. It takes around 3-ish seconds, maybe 5 seconds to do it. It's very, very quick, very direct. It can be done while you're just putting the deck back into the box. As you saw, it took me really quickly just to reset it, so the reset is good. The angles for the effect, depending on the variation that you do, are pretty much 180 to 360. The angles are very good. Inspectability-wise, the deck is not inspectable. It is gimmicked to the brim, so the deck is not inspectable, but depending on the way that you do the routine, how clean you do it and how you present it and how free you are with your spectator, then you're able to kind of have them touch cards, use cards, have cards in their hand. So it's going to kind of downplay the need to inspect. But if you're really worried someone is going to really want to inspect this, then you cannot hand this out at all because it is gimmicked, as I mentioned, to the brim. Even though it's not any substances or any flaps or anything like that, it is still a gimmick deck. So they're going to find out what needs to be found out if ever they get their hands on it. So that is pretty much all I have to say about practicality. Moving on to where to perform. So where would you perform caught red-handed? This is a great routine, I feel, for certain parlor shows. I feel you can get a really nice opener with this, or a really good routine in the middle of your show just to kind of alleviate. This is not a serious routine. This is more of a fun, comical, kind of laid-back routine. So you can definitely use this as an opener as well. You can also use this from table hopping, table to table, or restaurant or street performances, or whatever you want in that scenario, because this is kind of a light-hearted trick, and I feel it could be a really nice opener to tell people, the first thing that you may think about me is that every deck that I use is tricked, and you're right. And then you can kind of make a joke out of it and go into this routine and show them and hit them in the head with the kicker of it turning all red and them catching you red-handed, if you will. So performance-wise, you can pretty much perform this in a lot of scenarios. You can even do this on stage if you have a camera and you enjoy doing that. You can probably get away with it. So having said all of that, what are the positives and negatives of caught red-handed? Well, the negatives of caught red-handed, one is that for some people, they do not use superior brand playing cards. So if you're planning to do a card set for someone and not just one trick with cards, then they're going to see that you're clearly changing the deck and you're using two decks, and they're going to be like, oh, clearly the deck you used before is a tricked deck. So for some people, the fact that this is not bicycle could be an issue, but I feel that if you use this as an opener and then you do something like with coins, or you do something with a deck that's not necessarily playing cards, it's something else like images or pictures or whatnot, or you do a mentalist routine or whatever have you with something else than bicycle cards, I think that this could still play, but I know it is an issue for some people. Additionally, the deck is not inspectable at all, which I feel could be an issue for some people. But, you know, that is what you get with a routine such as this. And the last thing that I can mention, negatives. This is not something I usually do, but I think we're kind of beyond due. These like plastic, really like early 2000 magic packaging. I feel that, you know, we're kind of past it, but it is what it is. And it's not the best packaging, but again, you're not buying the trick for the packaging. And I mean, at the same time, for $25, you're getting a really good tutorial and you're getting a really well-made deck that's going to last you a very long time. So you can kind of neglect that. But still, it is something I like to point out because it's always kind of, I'm always kind of like, oh, this plastic packaging, are you serious? But yeah, nonetheless, now let's talk about the positives. So what are the positives? One, the price for this is really cheap. This is a really affordable trick and a really cool one at that, because it's flexible to performance style. It is flexible in times of difficulty. It is flexible as where you can perform it. It's really easy to do. It's well made. It's a fun little opening routine. And yeah, it's for the price, it's a really cool little trick that I feel a lot of people could maybe get a kick out of and maybe find themselves purchasing it and have quite some fun with it now that it's possibly in your radar. So having said that, what do I rate and what do would I recommend caught red-handed? So would I recommend caught red-handed? I think I would recommend it, especially for the price. I feel that you're going to get some mileage out of this. And I feel that if you like what you saw and you kind of imagine how you can kind of make this a bit more fooling with a bit more sleight of hand and a bit more pattern routining, as well as, you know, having actual people rather than a camera, and you feel you can get some mileage out of this, I think you will not be disappointed. So I do think this is a product worth recommending. However, for myself, I'm not performing this very often, to be blunt with you. I usually just do this in case there's people coming at my house, and sometimes I go, you know, on my magic shelf and I'm like, oh, let me try and do something new or kind of refresh myself on an old trick. This is something that I would pick out and do for them, but this is not something I take out with me personally when I'm gigging or as my EDC or when I'm out and about. And yeah, so I don't carry this around with me. So because of that, it can't get a super high mark, but it is still a very good effect. It's getting a 7.5 from me. It's a fun little thing that you can purchase. And yeah, so that's all I have to say about caught red-handed. I hope that you enjoy the review. If you have any questions, leave them down below. If not, I'll catch you in the next review. Have a great one, and bye-bye.